this is Sonia from Think Higher Consultants, and I'm here today with our registered migration agent, Miss Naomi Liu. So, welcome, Naomi. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Great. So we are today here to discuss more about AAT, and which we used to call MRT before, but now its name is AAT.
Yes.
So now we just do let us know that what is AAT and MRT first.
Okay, MRT is a Migration Review Tribunal. It handles all the migration cases as well as other cases.
Yeah.
AAT is now also handled migration cases. Migration Review Tribunal no longer exists. It has moved to AAT, which is called the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. Migration is only a division under AAT.
Yeah. So, like, what is the reason, like, as you said, that it is an appeal that we need to make if some client's visa gets rejected, right? So, what exactly could be the reasons that clients' visas get rejected? Like, what happens actually?
Right. There might be a lot of factors. Sometimes case officers make wrong decisions, and by appealing the decision, the client get more time to provide additional documents to support their case.
Do you really think that most of, like, what is the exact most of the time that the reasons are? Is there a reason that you said that sometimes that it is a mistake of the case officer as well? So it's a very frequent seen thing, or it's just is it?
It's a quite common thing.
Okay, that's a very common thing that that the case officer is also making some kind of mistakes. It's just a human mistakes that we can say, right?
Yeah.
And then there is some kind of policies and the rules that students or the clients can breach. That is why the visa gets rejected as well. Is it like that as well?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. In my understanding, maybe it is something, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it could be that the case officer's understanding is not up to the mark, or is not something that matching to the client's situation. Is it like that? Maybe sometimes we get refusals like that, saying that you haven't met this policy, or you haven't met this clause, but whereas that client is actually fulfilling that thing. This is how that you said that maybe it's just case officer's misunderstanding as well, and then we just correct it while going to AAT and all.
Yes.
That makes sense. So what exactly happens as soon as any rejection comes in? So what is the next action plan? Do they need only registered migration agents, or they can do it by themselves? And what is the difference of doing in both kind of processes?
Right. Migration law is quite complex and technical area. The law changes quite often. I've seen quite a few clients who they believe they can do it themselves, but at the end of the day, they mess it up by small things, and the consequences of that is they have to appeal all the way to the Federal Circuit Court to have that little things remedied.
Yeah.
What I mean by remedy is have that little things corrected, but those are the lucky ones. There are people who did it themselves, but at the end of the day, they can't. There's no other way to help them to rectify that mistake.
Yeah.
So be very careful when you apply yourself. There might be consequences if a mistake is made.
Yeah, makes sense. So, like, viewers, that as Naomi has told us that there is a big difference while you apply by yourself, and while you apply through a registered migration agent, because I believe as well that registered migration agents have more kind of clarity that what exactly that they need to submit to the immigration and to the in front of the judge, so that the case gets approved as soon as possible, rather than just going ahead with the different procedures afterwards. It's very I think the wise decision to go with the registered migration agents. So is there any kind of different views of the judges as well, like if they want for example, a client or an applicant just apply AAT by themselves and AAT by registered migration agent, so judges see both cases in different ways, or it's just the same way that they want to see?
Firstly, at AAT level, we call the the person who make the decision on the case members.
Yeah.
They're not judges.
Yeah.
They're not called judges. Judges are used at for court.
Okay.
AAT is less than is under court.
Okay.
AAT is less adversarial, but court is more adversarial.
Okay.
At AAT, the client and the migration agent will be there, and then the member will be there, and maybe interpreter and some friends of the applicant will be there, and immigration will not be there. But at court, which is the Federal Circuit Court, immigration will have their own lawyer there, and the client will have their own lawyer there representing them, or if they don't have a lawyer, they represent in person. And then the judge will be at court as well. It's quite, the process between AAT and the court are quite different as well.
Okay. Okay. So, like once they just apply the AAT, they just go to the court and then AAT, and then they just go through with the complete procedure with the judge and with their migration agent and all.
So the process is this: if the application is rejected by immigration, the client have the right. If they have the right to appeal, then they appeal to AAT, and then if AAT rejected their decision again, client have the right to appeal the AAT decision within 35 days generally to the Federal Circuit Court, and at that time the client needs to apply separately a bridging visa to maintain in Australia legally. Yeah.
In short, like that, they do have another pathway. Like if they get rejected from the AAT, they do have a further federation court that they can go with, and then they can appeal again with their cases. So that's a good thing, that at least if the case officer has rejected your case, and if for some reason your case got rejected in AAT, you do also have the federation court that you can always go for. So for AAT and for the federation court, do you think that it's only migration agent is required, or they can hire a lawyer as well, or they can only hire a lawyer and they can't go with the migration agent? What exactly how does it work?
For AAT, you can have migration agent or migration lawyer to assist your case, but for court, migration agent can't represent you at court. It has to be lawyer or barrister to represent you at court.
Okay, so for the federation court, it's just a lawyer, but in AAT you can always bring your migration agent with you. So what happens, I have seen few cases, Naomi, that what happens is that once the visa gets rejected, usually migration agents submit the their submission as well by explaining that for the clauses that you have rejected our visa, there is some kind of explanation to that, right?
Yeah.
This is what that we do, and we have been seeing that visas get approved before the AAT hearing.
Yes.
So is that the possibility, and is that something that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, it's possible the member of the AAT will decide the case without a hearing. We have seen cases that are being decided without a hearing. That only happens when the evidence is very strong, and there's no need to have a hearing. But generally speaking, it's good for the client to have a hearing because the right for hearing is important human right as well.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend client to request for decision without a hearing unless the case is very strong.
Yeah.
And generally it will not be granted unless it meets certain criteria.
Yeah.
And now that that space for arguing for decision without hearing is very limited.
Okay. Okay.
It
makes
used to
sense.
be
Yeah.
more relaxed, but
yeah.
now it's very limited.
Limited,
Very
yeah,
hard to
yeah.
get.
So if you are actually 110% sure that if you can just submit one or two document
Yeah.
or maybe a bit of explanation to the judge, and if you are 100% sure that you will get a success, then only you can appeal for the beforehand decision. Otherwise, registered migration agent usually prefers and recommends that you just go with the hearing. That actually makes more sense, that you can also define and explain your situation, that why these things couldn't happen, and this is why that you want to proceed your studies or proceed your case with immigration, right? That makes sense. So once you said that once the visa gets rejected, they just came to the registered migration agent, they applied for the AAT. Now there's a hearing day and their visa gets approved, right? Their situation just falls into the right and the correct path, and now the visa gets approved. Now what's next? Like, what happens when they are just returning from the court?
If they win their case at AAT, then the member will remit their case to immigration, and the immigration will put the application in the queue. It might be a long queue because immigration also have loads of files to look at. MRT remitted cases generally will not be given priority, but it depends. So after AAT remitted a case to immigration, then your migration agent will need to follow up immigration regarding your case. Then only after immigration approve all the criteria, then your visa will be granted.
Great. So the visa will come to the migration agent's email address, and then you can tell always to the client that your visa got rejected, your visa got approved. And what if that the visa gets rejected on the day of the hearing? So what exactly that they need to do? How many days and the timeline that they've got to reapply for the Federation Court and all?
Generally speaking, for visas got rejected on the spot at AAT is not common. Generally, the member will look into your application carefully, will consider all the evidence carefully, and make a very thorough decision. It's very rare for AAT members to make wrong decisions, but there are cases they do make wrong decisions. And then the case got appealed to the court. Is generally, if AAT member rejected your application, then you have 35 days from the day the member make the decision to apply for judicial review with the Federal Circuit Court.
Okay, so they do have 35 days. As soon as that your visa gets rejected, after that you do have 35 days to apply for the Federal Court, right?
Yeah.
So as you can just see nowadays, Naomi, that July intake was there obviously, and now there are a lot of applicants that who is applying for student visas. Their semester has got finished and now they're applying for their TR and things like that. So what would you recommend for the applicants who are applying for their visas, and so what is the one thing or maybe a couple of things that they should take care so that their visa don't get rejected?
Well, is Well, always supply as much evidence to support your case as possible. And also, if you can, then apply in Australia so you will have review right. I think that's basically it.
So as soon as if someone's visa gets rejected, can that applicant travel somewhere else, or can the applicant study as well, or do they need to just stop studying, because obviously if their student visa got rejected, do they still need to study?
Every case is different. We have to assess each case and give the advice to the clients. Generally speaking, if you are here on a student visa and you get rejected, but your purpose is to study in Australia, and after you get rejected, you're on a bridging visa, and there's no condition to prevent you to study, then I think the client should continue studying in Australia.
I believe, because I think it's more even important to keep studying, because then you have to just show yourself that you actually are interested in studying, rather than you just avail that time and just do other activities. But I would say that and judge get, because whatever that I have seen the MRTs for my friends and all, I've seen that if they are keep continuing their studies and whatever the purpose of their stay in Australia, judge gets impressed and they just approve the visa as well. So they usually see the progress reports of your study as well while you are in hearing. So I think it's just a recommended thing that you just keep continuing with your studies. And as a tip that Naomi said, that just give as much as evidences to support your documents while applying for the visa, so that your visa don't get rejected, and your just visa processes just go as smooth as it can be. So it's, I think, the best tip that anyone can give. Thank you so much, Naomi. Thank you so much to just explain each and everything in so much in detail, because nowadays we are so scared that students are applying a lot of cases and the student visas by themselves, and I'm sure and I wish that you guys don't miss any single document, because nowadays immigration wants the decision ready applications, so that they don't need to just go in detail and just keep asking for the more and more documents. So please guys, do lodge your student visa or any visa with a complete documentation. If you need any help, please do contact us. We do have a team of our registered migration agent in our Melbourne office, and we do have an office in Karachi, Pakistan. If you're onshore and wants to apply any visa, you can always contact us on 0435 600 610, and we do have our office in Melbourne CBD. So you can always walk in and make an appointment with our migration agents. Thank you so much. Bye.